The 1970s weren't just a decade, they were a state of mind. If you'll live it, you'll never forget it. And if you didn't, you're about to take a trip through 50 things only those who grew up in the 1970s remember. Feathered hair wasn't just a hairstyle, it was a cultural revolution. Inspired by Farrah Fawcett's iconic poster, teenagers and adults alike spent hours with round brushes and hair dryers, perfecting those soft, voluminous layers that flipped outward like wings. Boys weren't exempt either. From David Cassidy to Leif Garrett, guys with feathered locks became heartthrobs. If your hair didn't move when you walked, you simply weren't using enough Aqua Net. The Easy Bake Oven transformed ordinary kids into pint-sized pastry chefs with its light bulb-powered cooking. You'd mix tiny packets with water, slide miniature pans into what was essentially a glorified hot lamp, and 20 minutes later, culinary magic. Were those tiny cakes actually good? Not really. But watching raw batter transform into something edible felt like pure wizardry to a 70s child. Bell-bottoms were freedom in fabric form, starting slim at the knee before dramatically flaring outward. These iconic trousers transformed ordinary walks into fashion statements. Paired with platform shoes, they made legs look miles long. The satisfying swoosh of denim around your ankles was the soundtrack of the decade, matched only by the eternal struggle of keeping them dry on rainy days. Saturday morning cartoons came with a side of education, and somehow we loved it. Conjunction Junction, I'm Just a Bill, 3 is a magic number. They were stealth learning tools that planted grammar, math, and civics directly into young brains. How many adults still recite the preamble to the Constitution thanks to that unforgettable melody? Schoolhouse Rock didn't just teach us, it became part of our cultural DNA. In 1975, Gary Dahl put ordinary stones in custom cardboard boxes with breathing holes and sold them as pet rocks. Each came with a training manual filled with puns and jokes. They required no feeding, no walking, no vet visits, just appreciation. Was it ridiculous? Absolutely. But these smooth stones became the ultimate conversation piece and proof that sometimes the simplest ideas are pure genius. Only in the 70s could a rock become a must-have companion. Breaker 19, this is Rubber Duck. You got your eyes on? CB radios connected travelers with colorful handles in a unique community of the airwaves. Phrases like 10-4, good buddy, and what's your 20 became everyday language. Even kids got in on the action with walkie-talkies. CB radio was theater, connection, and for a brief, beautiful moment, made the open road feel like one big conversation. Clackers, 2 acrylic balls connected by string that you'd swing to make them collide with a satisfying clack. They demanded rhythm, coordination, and apparently parental blindness to obvious danger. These addictive noisemakers frequently shattered, occasionally causing injuries, and eventually got banned in many schools. The faster you could make them clack, the higher your playground status rose. No pain, no gain was the unspoken motto of the 70s toys. The Electric Company lit up educational television with a young Morgan Freeman, Rita Moreno, and a cast that made learning to read feel rebellious. With psychedelic graphics, funky music, and rapid-fire sketches, it taught phonics without feeling like school. The Silent E song, the Hey You Guys opening shout, all combined to make literacy exciting for a generation of kids discovering the power of words. The Trapper Keeper wasn't just a school supply, it was a status symbol with its Velcro closure that made that distinctive ripping sound when opened. Decorated with everything from rainbow unicorns to race cars, these binders featured folders called trappers that actually caught your papers. The plastic coating, the interchangeable designs, the satisfying organization, having a Trapper Keeper didn't just prepare you for class, it announced that you had your life together. Before smartphones, toddlers had the chatter telephone, a friendly-faced rotary phone on wheels with eyes that bobbed when pulled. The satisfying click of the rotary dial, the pleasant jingling bell, the simple smiley face, this little phone taught dexterity while sparking imagination. Kids would have long conversations with no one in particular, mimicking their parents. It didn't connect to anything except childhood joy, and that was more than enough. Did you ever wrap your textbooks in brown paper grocery bags? Remember when the TV guide arrived in the mail? How about waiting all week to watch your favorite show? Knowing if you missed it forever. We're only getting started with our nostalgic journey. The next 40 will have you saying, that's right, how could I forget? Faster than you can say, Disco Inferno. Mood rings supposedly reveal your inner feelings through color changes. Blue meant calm, black meant stressed, and green meant Well, nobody quite remembered what green meant, but it seemed important. "You can't be mad at me, your ring is blue," became a legitimate argument in 70s schoolyards. Was it accurate? Not remotely. Was it fashionable psychology? Absolutely. No 70s potluck was complete without a wobbly tower of gelatin artistry suspending fruit, vegetables, and occasionally, brace yourself, shrimp or tuna. Homemakers collected specialized molds and shapes, from bunt rings to detailed castles. The real thrill came at serving time. Would it hold its shape when unmolded, or collapse into a spectacular quivering disaster? The Jell-O mold represented 70s optimism in edible form, boldly colored, structurally ambitious, and unapologetically artificial. Polaroids developed photos before your eyes in a magical marriage of chemistry and anticipation. You'd snap the picture, hear the whirring mechanism, and watch intensely as faces emerged from the chemical void. And yes, everyone shook their Polaroids despite instructions not to. Each photo was expensive, irreplaceable, and entirely authentic. No filters, no editing, just real life captured in slightly oversaturated colors, with that iconic white border. The lava lamp was mood setting, conversation starting, liquid psychedelia for your bedside table. These mesmerizing cylinders contained colored wax that would heat, rise, split, merge, and descend in endless patterns. Hours could disappear watching these blobs perform their lazy ballet. Unlike today's LED light shows, lava lamps took patience. They needed time to warm up, teaching 70s kids the forgotten art of waiting for gratification. Roller rinks were teenage social headquarters. Wood-floored arenas where romance, drama, and athleticism played out on 8 wheels. The ritual was sacred, renting skates, navigating the crowded rink, to Donna Summer or ABBA, praying you wouldn't fall during couple skating. The disco balls scattered light while the DJ wielded godlike power over the mood. All skates, couples only, reverse direction, these commands structured the evening's emotional journey for countless 70s teens. The Viewmaster was virtual reality before virtual reality, a handheld portal to other worlds. Insert a circular reel, hold the viewer to your eyes, pull the lever, and suddenly you were transported. Disney characters, national parks, or far-off destinations appeared in vivid three-dimensional color. Collections of reels became prized possessions. In a pre-internet world, the Viewmaster brought the extraordinary directly to your eyeballs, one click at a time. If it could be tied, knotted, or hung, it was macrame in the 1970s. Plant hangers, wall hangings, belts, purses, all created from jute, cotton, or hemp cords. No living room was complete without something fringed, dangling from ceiling or walls. The more elaborate the knots, the more impressive the creation. It represented the handmade back-to-nature ethos of the decade. Practical, decorative, and distinctly textured. Today's houseplant renaissance has nothing on the original macrame jungle. Pop Rocks weren't just candy, they were a mouth adventure that literally exploded on your tongue. The urban legend that eating them with soda would make your stomach explode added dangerous mystique. Kids would dare each other to try the deadly combination, despite the mythical fate of Mikey from Life cereal commercials. It wasn't just about taste, it was about performance, sensation, and the thrill of eating something that fought back. In 1977, Star Wars landed like a cultural meteor. Toy stores couldn't keep lightsabers or action figures in stock. Kids fought over who got to be Han Solo during playground games. Bedrooms transformed into shrines of posters and memorabilia. The film's revolutionary special effects made previous science fiction look quaint, and its merchandising changed how movies were marketed forever. For many 70s kids, life could clearly be divided into before Star Wars and the much better after Star Wars. Nothing said sophisticated adult quite like a waterbed, a giant vinyl bladder filled with water, often in wooden frames with built-in headboards, storage compartments, and sometimes stereo systems. The sloshing motion could either lull you to sleep or induce seasickness. Heating elements kept them warm, creating unique winter coziness. Of course, there was always the threat of leaks. The waterbed was a lifestyle choice and perhaps the most impractical innovation ever to become mainstream. Banana seat bicycles ruled neighborhood streets, elongated, often sparkly seats paired with high-rise handlebars. Colorful streamers flowed from handlebars, playing cards clothes pinned to spokes created motorcycle-like sounds, and reflectors caught the sun dramatically. For many kids, these bikes represented freedom. Territory could be expanded. Adventures had. Independence tested. No helmet laws, no parental tracking apps, just you, your banana seat chariot, and a sunset curfew. It's what the astronauts drink, was all the marketing Tang needed. This orange powder transformed ordinary water into what kids were convinced was space-age nutrition. Its nuclear orange glow seemed otherworldly, appropriate for its cosmic associations. The ritual of stirring until the powder completely dissolved was itself a small scientific experiment. Tang wasn't just a drink, it was liquid optimism about America's technological future. Lunch went to school in rectangular metal containers featuring your favorite TV show, a superhero. The Partridge Family, $6 Million Man, Wonder Woman, your choice revealed your allegiances. Inside, a matching thermos kept milk lukewarm at best. The distinctive sound of a lunchbox closing, the association rust spots, the dents that told stories of playground mishaps. These battle scars made each box uniquely yours. If a surface could be covered in wood paneling in the 70s, it was. Walls, station wagons, televisions, refrigerators, nothing escaped the warm embrace of real or simulated wood grain. This wasn't subtle accenting, it was full commitment to the aesthetic of a rustic cabin, regardless of location. The darker the paneling, the more fashionable the home, causing many rooms to resemble handsome caves where style trumped natural light. Shrinky Dinks brought molecular restructuring to children's crafting. These thin sheets of polystyrene could be colored, cut out, and baked, shrinking to about 1/3 their original size while becoming thicker and harder. You'd watch through the oven door as your creation curled, twisted, and finally flattened into miniaturized form. The anticipation was excruciating. Would it shrink evenly? Would colors intensify properly? This combination of art project and science experiment made Shrinky Dinks irresistible. Each September, the Sears Wish Book arrived, not just a catalog, but a portal to possibility. Children would spend hours studying the toy section, circling desired items, folding down page corners, and creating detailed Christmas lists with item numbers and page references. The book's arrival signaled the unofficial beginning of holiday planning, and its dog-eared condition by December told the story of a family's wishes, bound in one volume. The television wasn't just a screen, it was furniture. Console TVs were massive wooden cabinets housing relatively small screens, often with sliding doors to hide the screen when not in use. These entertainment centers weighed hundreds of pounds and produced distinctive sounds. The heavy click of the mechanical channel knob, the electrical hum when turned on, the static zap when turned off. Adjusting them was physical. You didn't just change the channel, you got up and engaged with the machine. Sea monkeys were tiny brine shrimp sold via comic book ads that promised underwater humanoid pets with smiling faces and tiny crowns. The reality, nearly microscopic crustaceans in a plastic tank. Never matched the illustrations showing sea monkey families watching TV. Yet disappointment didn't stop millions from ordering these instant pets. The miracle of seeing empty water suddenly teeming with tiny swimming creatures still held genuine wonder, even if they never developed those advertised royal accessories. Beanbag chairs represented casual 70s living, furniture that actively rejected rigid structure in favor of conforming to the user. Available in vibrant vinyl or corduroy, they became the preferred seating for listening to records or watching TV. They were democratic, no dad's chair territory, and infinitely adaptable. Of course, they also leaked tiny white beads through seams, becoming environmental hazards long before anyone worried about such things. Getting out of one with dignity was an art form rarely mastered. The Atari 2600 revolutionized home entertainment with its wood veneer front panel and distinctive joysticks. Games like Pong, Space Invaders, and Pitfall became household names. Families gathered around televisions, creating new bonding rituals centered on taking turns and comparing high scores. For many children, this was their first interactive relationship with technology, the granddaddy of today's immersive gaming experiences. Remember when making a long-distance phone call was a special occasion? When cameras used film you had to develop? When changing the TV channel meant getting up from the couch? We're continuing our journey through the time capsule of the 1970s. These next memories might unlock forgotten corners of your childhood. Record stores were sacred places where music lived physically in wooden bins. The experience engaged all senses: album art, the smell of cardboard sleeves, and incense. Staff recommendations played over store speakers. Making a purchase wasn't just acquiring music, it was joining a cultural conversation. The weight of the record in a paper bag, the anticipation of getting home to place a needle on vinyl, these rituals created deeper connections to music that digital convenience has streamlined away. Wacky packages, stickers wear submersive art for kids, parodies of popular products that transform Crest toothpaste into crust with disgusting imagery. These stickers cards, sold in wax packs, were a collectible contraband that parents tolerated but rarely appreciated. The combination of gross-out humor and anti-consumerist satire made them irresistible to children developing their own sense of humor. A small rebellion you could stick on your lunchbox. Athletic wear in the 70s meant tube socks with colorful stripes at the top, pulled up to the knee. The horizontal stripes weren't just decorative, they were identifiers, school colors, team colors, or personal preference. They were democratic apparel crossing gender, age, and social divisions. Everyone from professional athletes to playground hopscotch champions wore them with pride. Pull them down and scrunch them at the ankles, that was an entirely different fashion statement. Paper routes gave many 70s kids their first taste of entrepreneurship. Rising before dawn, organizing newspapers in canvas bags, memorizing which subscribers wanted special placement, this wasn't just a job, but an education. Collecting monthly payments door to door taught negotiation skills. Weather was no excuse for non-delivery. Papers had to reach porches through rain, snow, or morning fog. The satisfaction of completing a route created a special kind of childhood pride largely vanished in today's digital subscription world. Before pop toys stayed attached to cans, pull tabs were removable metal rings that left you holding sharp metal remnants. These tiny pieces of aluminum became impromptu jewelry when hooked onto necklace chains. The truly dedicated collected them on key rings, showing off beverage consumption like trophies. Environmental concerns eventually led to their redesign, but not before they had become embedded in the decade's material culture. Before video games dominated recreation rooms, foosball tables were centerpieces of competitive indoor play. Mastering the wrist flick that sent the small white ball rocketing into goals took practice. Serious players developed strategies with specialized vocabulary. The satisfying clack of plastic players striking the ball, the hollow sound of goals being scored, the inevitable arguments over rules. Foosball created its own social ecosystem that crossed age and skill barriers. Earth shoes featured the revolutionary negative heel lower at the heel than the toe, supposedly promoting better posture. These chunky leather shoes prioritized comfort and natural walking over style, though they became stylish by association with the decade's environmental consciousness. Wearing them was a statement about rejecting fashion norms and embracing natural living. They were uncomfortable at first. Devotees insisted only until your body relearned proper alignment with the planet. "We can rebuild him. We have the technology." These words introduced Steve Austin, an astronaut rebuilt with bionic parts after a crash. The slow-motion running, the distinctive electronic sound effect for feats of strength, the roll-up action figure with bionic eye viewer, all became playground currency. The show's optimistic view of human-machine integration reflected the decade's fascination with technology's possibilities, presenting a future where science could perfect humanity. Shag carpeting wasn't just floor covering, it was tactile home fashion with a pile so deep you could lose small objects in it. Available in earth tones like harvest gold and avocado green, these carpets transformed living rooms into textured environments. Special rakes restored the carpet's deliberate dishevelment after vacuuming. Of course, shag had downsides. Trap dust, impossible to clean spills, but its sensory richness embodied the decade's embrace of comfort over practicality. Before Google answered questions, households consulted massive dictionaries displayed on dedicated wooden stands. The ritual of looking up words had a physical dimension, finding sections using thumb indices, discovering unexpected terms while searching for others. Dictionary stands featured tilted surfaces and decorative elements, making them furniture rather than storage. They represented a home's commitment to knowledge, intellectual status symbols announcing, "In this house, we care about words." Before Diet Coke, there was Tab, the pink can zero-calorie soda with a distinctively bitter, saccharin-laden punch. Its metallic aftertaste was considered a small piece for guilt-free refreshment. Tab drinkers were a dedicated tribe defending their beverage choice despite its acquired taste status. For 70s kids, that bright pink can in mom's refrigerator remains instantly recognizable, a small daily luxury signaling adult sophistication. Rotary phones required inserting a finger and rotating the dial clockwise with its distinctive whirring sound. Phone numbers with lots of 9s and O's were the bane of impatient callers. Long cords stretched across rooms, allowing limited privacy while remaining tethered to the wall. Party lines meant sometimes picking up to find neighbors already on your line. The physical connection between dialing and result created a deliberateness to communication now lost to instant access. After Dorothy Hamill won Olympic gold in 1976, her wedge haircut became the must-have style nationwide. This precisely angled bob, short at the back and sides with slightly longer bangs, promised both sporty functionality and feminine softness. Achieving the perfect wedge required expert cutting and daily maintenance. Like Farrah Fawcett's feathered locks, the Dorothy Hamill wedge wasn't just a haircut, it was a cultural statement about modern womanhood. TV dinners offered complete meals in compartmentalized aluminum trays. The classic configuration, meat in the large section, vegetables and starch in smaller segments, dessert in its own square, created a visual organization appealing to kids. The ritual was satisfying, removing the cardboard sleeve, piercing the foil on the dessert, but nowhere else, and timing the heating perfectly. Eating them while actually watching TV felt like breaking rules in the best possible way. Drive-in theaters were American institutions where families and teenagers experienced film through windshields and temperamental speaker boxes. The experience was multi-sensory, gravel crunching under tires, popcorn aroma from concession stands, the community of headlights flashing when projection failed. For parents, it solved childcare dilemmas. Kids could sleep in the backseat during double features. For teenagers, drive-in offered precious privacy. Those massive screens illuminating the night sky created a unique cinema experience streaming can never replicate. Before understanding UV damage, tanning was actively pursued using oils designed to intensify the sun's effects. Coppertone, Hawaiian Tropic, and Johnson's Baby Oil mixed with iodine were Arsenal staples. The smell of coconut oil baking on skin remains the olfactory signature of 70s summers. Sun protection factor? Never heard of it. The goal wasn't protection, but amplification. The deeper the bronze, the more successful the summer. Today's dermatologists shudder at what passed for beach wisdom. Playgrounds in the 1970s weren't designed for safety. They were training grounds for childhood resilience. Metal slides that scorched legs, towering jungle gyms with no fall protection, merry-go-rounds that spun at dizzying speeds, seesaws that became catapults when a partner suddenly dismounted. The surfaces below? Concrete, asphalt, or if you were lucky, gravel. Safety regulations were minimal. Risk assessment was learned through trial and error. Today's rubber-matted play areas would have seemed suspiciously tame to 70s kids. Encyclopedia salesmen offered knowledge installment plans with smooth pitches and sample volumes. These multi-volume sets, Britannica, World Book, Funk, and Wagnalls, represented significant household investments displayed on dedicated shelving. For students, they were homework lifelines. Families settled debates by consulting the appropriate volume. The annual yearbooks that updated information created ongoing relationships with publishers. These meticulously indexed repositories taught research skills now obsolete, but created deeper appreciation for organized information. 8-track tapes defined car culture, and home listening with cartridges containing endless loops of magnetic tape divided into 4 tracks. Their bulky plastic cases protruded from dashboards and stereo systems alike. The inevitable moment when a favorite song faded out mid-verse for a track change, then resumed seconds later, created a unique listening experience. Despite inferior sound quality and mechanical unreliability, tangled tape was a common crisis. 8 tracks represented musical freedom, especially in cars. Saturday morning cartoons were weekly cultural events, uniting children nationwide. From 6 a.m. until noon, networks dedicated programming exclusively to animated content. Kids would wake up early, prepare sugary cereal, and settle in for hours of Scooby-Doo, Super Friends, and Looney Tunes. This was appointment viewing. Miss it, and you'd wait a full week for another chance. The commercials between shows, advertising cereals, and toys became almost as memorable as the cartoons themselves. This communal viewing experience created shared references across boundaries, uniting a generation through animated adventures. These 50 touchstones of 1970s childhood may have faded into history, but they shaped a generation whose memories remain vivid and cherished. In an era before digital technology accelerated everything, experiences had weight, presence, and often required patience. Today, we can look back at the sometimes silly, sometimes dangerous, always authentic moments that defined growing up in this unique decade. From feathered hair to Saturday morning cartoons, these shared memories connect us to a simpler time when experiences weren't filtered through screens but lived directly, imperfectly, and completely. What 70s memories would you add to our list? Share it in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more nostalgic journeys through the decades that shaped us all.